Srimata Sri Maharagni Srimat Simhasaneshwari Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta Deva Karya Samudhyata. The Sri Mata, you see how much the Vatsalya Prema that mother has is different. Ramakrishna puts very good perspective. He says if you go with the father's approach, you can only go to the courtyard. But if you try to seek your mother, you can go into all the way into her quarters. Similarly, when you see the whole creation, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, they do their jobs as creator, sustain, or dissolution, and they only got their Shakti because of Mahamaya or the Adi Shakti. The Puranas say that the Adi Shakti breaks herself into, creates or gives her Shakti to Brahma, to Vishnu and Mahadev. They say there's a woman behind every man's success. Similarly, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, they all were doing their activities as per what we expect from them because of the Shakti behind them in the form of Saraswati and Lakshmi and Parvati. That's what they are addressing here in the first word, Sri Mata. And within that word, we're right now talking about Mata alone, as a divine mother. And the reason is that it is very easy to contemplate because everyone they have affection towards mother, because as I said, we are born out of divine mother. Whether we acknowledge it or not, there's an easy connection between you and your mother. And that's right now what Vagdevatas trying to address here, is to kind of evoke our affection as a mother of all, the divine mother, and who fulfills all her devotees' desire. And the Sri means the highest or utmost respectful, or Sri Vidya, or anything to do with Sri, that means it's a kind of a greatness, her grandeur. And so it's just not just mother, it's a divine mother, Sri Mata. So Mata just means mother, but Sri Mata means the auspicious or divine mother. On this note, I would like to take you a small stotram. Durvasa was instrumental in writing various other scriptures for Lalita Tripurasundari. Here is one beautiful verse that is taken from his Shakti Mahimna Stotram. You can see here, and it says that, O Mata, the supreme compassionate, I had born to a number of mothers. In future also, I may be born to a number of mothers. My mothers are countless, as I had different mothers for my different or various births. I am so scared to be born again and to undergo the associated sufferings. So, O Mata, or Divine Mother, I am surrendering to you. Please give me relief from my future births. That is what a serious or a sadhaka would seek from a divine mother. Mother is mother, right? So if you ask her anything, that's what you'll get. If you ask her for riches sincerely, that's what you'll get. And there's nothing doubt about it. And if you want name and fame, as you keep doing with sadhana, that actually takes more rules. As per the rules we follow, you will get the fruit that you're seeking. But here, as a sadhus, the one that we all want to attain here is both the liberation as well as the bhautika sukha. We need sufficient comforts, material comforts, in order to fulfill our karma, at the same time to take us beyond this karma or beyond this life of birth and death forever, for many, many life generations. So that is what we as a sadhu seek from the Divine Mother. Next word is Sri Maharagni. The Sri Maharagni, so here initially we began as the addressing Lalita as the Divine Mother, and now a mother in the sense that who fulfill our devotees' desires, and as a like how a child to a mother addresses as. Now here we are trying to address her as the empress. There's a difference between empress and a mother, right? If you have a queen as your own mother, compare that to having your own mother. So it's really a double whopper in the sense that you can have the one who will fulfill every wish of yours, and along with also fulfilling your needs of the liberation from this earth. And then we have Srimat Simhasaneshwari. So Simhasaneshwari is she sits on the throne of lions, denoting her power and instilling fear in the demons. There's a very traditionally accepted norm is that in you see a lot of thrones. We have, India was a kingdom, is a place of kingdoms, just like any other part, whether Europe or any other part of the world before, I think 17th century or so, 18th century. But if you have a lion, that denotes kind of a power that you have, because the lion is the most strongest animal, the king of the forest. Typically they use lion on the thrones to denote that she is not as, she may look very gentle, but she's also powerful, that she has the lions as her bodyguards. Just like how we have Vaishnavi Devi in the North India, Sherewala. So when demon or Asura, when he looks at her, they think that she's very gentle, but when they see like a very dangerous animal, that's when they know that they have to respect her, because then she commands respect. And notice that all the first three names, this began with Sri, Sri, Sri. And that's the importance of that, is that it shows that all of they are, she's an auspicious mother, she's an auspicious the queen, and she's also the auspicious one who is seated upon mighty throne of the creation. It's just not only for the small kingdom, but it's for the whole creation is what we have. She's sitting here. Next one is Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta. As we covered in the previous session few weeks back, where I explained about the story, how the Lalitopakyana proceeds, the whole story of how the whole war, why she was born and how she fights Bandasur and what all weapons she used and what all her army and her chakras and all of those we went in detail. There I mentioned that she was born from Chidagni Kunda. So the Kunda, Chidagni Kunda, there are various interpretations for that. The first one, what I said earlier, which is as per the Lalitopakyana, is when the Parashambhu, he did the yaga to create Lalita Tripurasundari, all the gods and goddesses were sitting on the Sruva or Sruchi, and they were offering themselves along with Ahuti, along with the ghee, Grutam. They also became Ahuti, so their energy also went into the fire, which denotes the Chit Shakti. Chit means the consciousness. Let's say if you're making a porridge or a sweet pudding, right? You start with just basically a milk, and then you stir it up and let it warm up, and then you add some sugar, add some rice, and then you add some saffron. So you kind of add one by one, right? You just don't have only just a plain milk. Similarly, when you have Chidagni Kunda, what it means is that without the gods themselves offering into it, which means without themselves, their own energies, if they don't offer into the fire, you won't get that the cumulative energy of Lalita Tripurasundari, which she emerges out of the Chidagni Kunda. And that's at one level. The second level, if you see what it means, is that Chidagni Kunda, the Agni Kunda, it dispels darkness. The light's nature is to dispel darkness. The moment you see a small lamp in a dark room, that instantaneously dispels darkness. And here it's our ignorance. So she is also within us, that Chidagni that is always shining to make us seek the highest, the better of us. Isn't it because of that you all came here trying to learn, instead of spending your time with your kids or watching some Netflix movies or just hang out with the family, you're spending your precious 2 hours of your weekend time for sadhana. So that is actually what your own consciousness is telling you to, I want to be better than me, and I want to learn Srividya, and I want to seek the sadhana, and I want to have discipline. That kind of a positive energy within us that is seeking us to be a better of ourselves is that Lalita Tripurasundari, the Chidagni, the Chit. As I said, every story has a deeper meaning and a superficial meaning. if you see the one that's Chidagni Kunda is what I just covered earlier, but in other words, if you see, she's the one who's coming within us slowly as we do the ahutis within ourselves. The ahutis are devas. The devas are all positive thoughts that we have. So as we keep nourishing our positive thoughts by doing sadhana, she emerges from our Chidagni Kunda, from our own consciousness, she emerges out and she takes over our own, our small little ego and make it Mahat, or the Burhat Aham, or which is kind of the all encompassing, all inclusive quality of our own nature, which is not clouded by just our egoism or selfishness or greed or and laziness. And so the six ripus or six enemies, all of those negativities, as we keep offering ourselves the each and every thought or by doing sadhana, they get off and the fire gets stronger. And as it keep going, and she eventually emerges out of our own consciousness and she takes over us and we become one with her. So it's nothing that we have seeking outside, but it's actually what we are seeking within ourselves. It's just like a mirror, right? A mirror has a dust, it's filled with dirt. So we had to just remove it. And that kind of what our process here is, to remove our own vasanas so that we can shine our own Chidagni from where the Lalita Tripura Sundari comes out in her grandeur form. And later on, the next word is the Devakarya Samudhyata. Devakarya Samudhyata is the main reason for her existence, is to fulfill the wishes of the gods, to relieve them from the sufferings that were being inflicted upon by the Bandasura. And so Devakarya Samudhyata is, she is the one who has been conceived in order to relieve the sufferings of the god and the goddesses. And Udyat Bhanu Sahasrabha. The Bhanu is the other name of sun. Sahasrabha is the various, the emittance or the rays of sun. So you can interpret that in two ways. One, it is the 1,000 rays that is coming out of the sun. She is shining like that. Or the brightness of 1,000 suns together. It's up to whoever, the whoever you want to conceive it, you are welcome to do it. But in essentially what it says is that she's like she's glowing so radiant in that kind of a rising sun. And also every color has a meaning behind it. And the color of rising sun, which is kind of crimson color, kind of actually right now what you see in the color in the Lalita Sahasranamam here, the text color has been highlighted in the same color of crimson, kind of very close. That denotes a kindness or graciousness. Crimson color, so if you see, as I said, like, yellow is prosperity and green also for nourishment, and every color has, I think I discussed that in one of the Satsang on the Holi video, I believe somewhere on YouTube. But here, her color, when you see crimson, that means she is graceful, gracious and kind to her devotees. Note that when you say Udyat Bhanu Sahasrabha, it's the form, every form has, or every being has various levels of existence, right? We have gross level, gross body, we have subtle, and then we have causal. Initially, we start with the gross in order so that we can relate to her, we can understand, and we can look at her eyes, and we can stay in a kind of a pure bhavana. And as you go, the sadhana gets deepened and your distractions or your thoughts get lessened. You don't feel much need to look at her, but rather you can feel her centered within you. Even if you close your eyes, you can still feel her presence. And you don't even have to contemplate on that. And that's what you get by doing mantra, japa. If you keep doing it, you will get that siddhi. The lowest is the form, is the gross form, which is what we were discussing right now. In this, if you see the same thing, Lalita Sahasranamam too, the whole names were arranged so that they start describing her physical features, and then they go into her tattva, where it is, what she is, what are chakras, and what are, who are her energies, and it goes on like that. So, and a physical description of her, it matches the way that she comes out of kunda. From her head comes first, and then slowly her feet, all the way till the feet. That's her whole body is what they describe physical body, and then they get into her essence of it, which is the Srividya, and what the chakras are, what her energies, and so on and so forth is what we'll be delving later on in Sahasranamam. Just note that the gross body is a good starting point, but eventually we will, as we sadhana gets deepened, we want to get into that kind of internalized version of her, which is the mantra that will keep you in connection with her no matter what you're doing, whether driving or anything. You can, moment you chant mantra, you can think about her. The next one is Chaturu Bahu Samanvita, and she has the 4 hands. So one thing I would like to mention here, every god they prefer one way of worshipping, and Mahadev or Shiva, he prefers the Abhishekam with milk, and Ganapati, he likes Tarpanam, and Vishnu, he likes decoration, and Devi, they call Archana, is what she likes. Everyone, and you can see that kind of and of course mother also like decoration. You won't see, the decoration will be to the utmost. If you can see, if you go to Vishnu temple like Tirupati, or if you go to Devi temples like Kamakshi, or if you see any temple, Durga temple or Vaishnavi Devi temple, you see how much they adorn Divine Mother, right? So they like that kind of a description based upon their tattvas. So same thing goes on here, is that when you see the names of Shiva, they mostly admire, the kind of adore about his qualities of Vairagya. And if you see the Vishnu, they explain as like his physical body, like having a very big arms and so on. And same thing when it comes to describing her form too, they adhere. And note that all of these stotrams were written in long time back, ways eons back. So their customs were different, which may not be accepted now, but try to see the essence of it. Don't get distracted by the shallow level of meanings of the letter, but try to use that to form an idea within your mind, so that your mind can be fixated upon her form. And so what I'm trying to say here is that the Vishnu and Devi, they try to embellish, they explain how for her every part of the body, they really go very poetically, they describe it. So we just take it in that essence and try to contemplate upon her with a pure mind. That will take us beyond. Okay. And so now we start about the Chatur Bahu. So she has the 4 arms. Remember I said that she is one of the very few goddesses. Lalita Tripurasundari is one of the very few goddesses who doesn't have Abhaya Mudra or Varada Mudra, because the 4 arms are filled with all the weapons that she used to create the Sampatkari and Ashwaruda and Varahi and Shamala. But even just her feet itself will give you the boons that you need and dispel the fears of our devotees. And now focusing on each and every weapon or the hand what is holding. So they start with the left hand. She is Raga Swarupa Pashadya. So Raga means passion. The passion, if you see, it actually binds us. Dispassion is Vairagya, which will relieve us. But passion is denoted as Pasha, because it binds you. You get attached, you get deluded, you think that is all you have. And so as a Divine Mother, she also can use that weapon to bind the enemies of her devotees. Eventually this also happens within us. She can also take away all the negativities by binding those with her pasha, the rope. And Krodha Karang Kusojjvala. This is her weapon on the goad is on the right hand. The goad is the one what they control to elephants, to make them follow the commands that they are giving. But in that weapon, anger is also shining. The Ujjvala, Krodha is the anger. So that is shining in her weapon in the goad. So the Pasha is one where she is denoting the binding attractive power that she can have to delude human beings. or the negative or the asuras. Now the krodha, and now she is showing about the anger in the form of goat. And mano rupekshu kodhanda. So now we are getting into the other one, which is sugarcane. Sugarcane denotes the mind, because mind is very easy get distracted. Sugarcane is very very sweet, so it attracts your palatal senses, right? So similarly, this the sugarcane bough is they use that to denote the mind. And then we have Pancha Tanmatra Sayaka, and she is having the five Tanmatras. So if you remember, this is the Kashmir Shaivism we covered early last year. So this is Tanmatras, what it denotes, the five Tanmatras. The Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa and Gandha. So all of these five Tanmatras, she is denoting by holding her five arrows in her right hand. The touch, the smell, hearing, taste and sight. So in other words, what it denotes is actually that she is binding us as being also the divine mother, who is also can relieve us. At the same time, she also binds us to the samsara, right? Because if everyone is like Mahadev, there is no drama going on in this world, right? She lets go of very 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 few people. They say, Ramakrishna says very beautiful that even though we crave, she only chooses few persons to really let them go off her maya, that kind of a net that she binds everyone. So she is binding all of us with that kind of a maya. And only upon as we seek, by saying her, we beseech her, Mother, please help me, I want to get rid of this maya, I want to seek your holy feet. As you keep asking her, that's when she lets us go out of her hold. And her hold is what is explained in these four names. The Panchatan Matra, so using our mind itself is her creation, right? Remember the Maya in the all of the structure what I showed earlier in Kashmir Shaivism is that Maya, within that the mind, Ahankara and Buddhi, and all of these is forms the mind. So she encompasses all of it in the form of mind, and that mind she is churning all of us by using this five panchendriya, the five senses. And she binds us with the raga, the pasha, and the krodha, and also anger. Anger is like basically another one form of attachment, or stronger attachment, because you only get anger because you are not getting what you want, right? If you were, that's why sadhus, the real sadhus don't get anger, because they are, of course gurus, they can actually fake anger to provoke the disciple, but in general the anger means that someone is not getting what they want. So that denotes the attachment they have. So all of this in short is that she, the divine mother, is also the one who is binding us there. So remember I said the Bhandasura was formed from the ashes of Manmatha, and she was here, kill him and restore the original Manmatha out of it, so that the world can have again all attraction that it needs in order to keep the humans and everything going as normal. And now next comes the Nijaruna Prabhapura Majjad Brahmanda Mandala. What it says is that she engulfs this whole creation with her color of rising sun. It is very very common that they compare the rising sun to Divine Mother, especially if you see there's we'll learn later on, there's Suktam that comes in Yajurveda, is called Durga Suktam. There's a sloka that says Tvam Agnivaranam Tapasa Jvalante Bhairochanim Karma Phaleshu Jushtam Kam Sosmitam Sharanamaham Prapadde Sutarasi Tarase Namaha. But it says Tvam Agni Varanam. So you are the form of the Agni Varanam. Agni is like rising sun, is also has a color of the fire. Tvam Agni Varnam Tapasa Jalantim. Jalantim is like she kind of shines in that kind of form. So it's very often you'll see that they compare the divine form in the Lalita also. Next comes the Champakashoka Punnaga Saugandhika Lasatkacha. She wears flowers like Champaka, Ashoka, Punnaga, and Saugandhika. So these are basically the flowers that are very auspicious and they kind of emanates very beautiful fragrance. Now that they explained her form as a whole, as a hands and her radiance, now they're getting into detail. Kuruvinda Mani Shreni Kanat Kotira Mandita. So her crown is shiny with Padmaraga stones. Padmaraga are very auspicious stones. They're very, it's very tough to find them. They actually use this quite often in the description of Srinaгаram, where she on Manidvipa, the island of jewels is Manidvipa. So you'll see various names of Padmaraga and Parijata, and they have various very rare flowers that you can't find anywhere, and also rare gems that you can't find elsewhere. So it's filled with lot of gems, and there's a very beautiful description of Srinaгаram. Later on we'll learn. Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalekasthala Shobhita. So her forehead shines with the radiance of moon on its 8th day after the new moon. Ashtami Chandra. Ashtami is the 8th day, and Vibhraja is the Vibhraja Dalekasthala Shobhita. Her forehead is shining as the moon on its 8th day. And Mukhachandra Kalankaba Mruganabhi Visheshaka. Mruganabhi is, Nabhi is the belly button or stomach, and Mruga is the deer. There's one type of deers, they're called musk deers. They emanate this very fragrant smell. They try to seek where it is coming from, but they do not know that it's actually coming from their own body, from their own tummy or navel. India they call kasturi, and Western we call it musk. And she applied that kasturi on her face as a tilak. And that is such that if you see moon, a full moon, right, you see a very bright moon shining, but then you see some small dark spots in it. Similarly, if you compare her face to be radiantly shining like that, the spots, the same, that kind of attraction also you can find on her forehead, just like the black spots on the moon. And Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruha Torana Chillika. Torana is something that we adorn on the top of the entrance of houses. We adorn with some kind of a mala of flowers. And her eyelids are so captivating. Kamadeva, something very attractive. Imagine if the eyes are the end of the house of Kamadev, the eyelids is adorning that house, the entrance, just like how if you have a torana, a mala of flowers are decorated. Vaktralakshmi Parivaha Chalan Meenabha Lochana. So Meena is a fish. In Vaktralakshmi Parivaha, and Lochana is the eyes. So what it means is that her captivating eyes are like fish swimming in flow of radiance from her face. So you have to try to visualize, every time you see, try to visualize this form within you, and that will help you to kind of have some concentration on her form. And with a pure mind, if you can focus, you'll really get stable, centered, without any distractions. So if her eyes are just like fish who are swimming in the flow of this, imagine like a kind of a big river going on, and you have a small fish, very gentle fish swimming in that kind of a radiance. The water here is the radiance that's emanating from her face, and her two eyes are kind of small fish. They are basically within that kind of flow of river of her radiance. It's a very beautiful composition of Vagdevis. And Navachampaka Pushpabha Nasa Danda Virajita is her nose reminds freshly opened champaka flowers. The champaka flowers is her nose is so well adorned or well made, is that it's just like the champaka has very small flowers. And Tara Kanti Tiraskari Nasa Bharana Bhasura. Her Tara Kanti is the shine of the stars. Tiraskari is like, Tiraskara means rejecting or surpasses. Nasa Bharana Bhasura. Nasa Abharana. Nasa, the nose, Abharana is the decorative items. Bhasura is shining. What it says is that her nose ring is surpassing even the shine of the stars. And Kadamba Manjari Klupta Karanapura Manohara. Her ears are like the beautiful Kadamba flowers. Kadamba Vanavasini also they call. She always resides under the Kadamba tree. And Tatanga Yugali Bhuta Tapanodupa Mandala. The sun and the moon and adorn her as earrings. If you remember that the Chandra and the Surya and all the gods, they offered themselves into the Chidagni Kunda, and from there as a cumulative form she came out, and where each of them they took their own place to form her energies within her body, and sun and moon were adorned as her earrings. Padmaraga Shiladarsha Paribhavi Kapola Bhuhu. Cheeks are outshining even the mirror made of Padmaraga stones. Padmaraga Shiladarsha. Padmaraga is the Shila is the stones. Paribhavi Kapola Bhuhu. So her cheeks are shining so much. If you take a mirror which is completely made of Padmaraga stones, it even outshines it. And now it's a Navavidruma Bimbasri Nyakkari Radhanachada. And her lips are overpowered color of fresh coral and bimba fruit. And just as I said earlier, it is basically, it's a divine mother and Vishnu, they all explain in a very poetic way her physical features. So we had to have the devotional perspective when you are trying to interpret this and focus and try to form that image within you, so that will help you to retain that bhavana when you chant Lalita Sahasranamam, right? The same reason why you have also dhyana slokas. They also try to give you the form of her so that your mind doesn't waver here and there. The nama and rupa, these two are everything in the world has these two attributes. It has to have a name, it has to have a form. So names, right now we are chanting, right, everything is a name, the whole 1,000 names. The form is right now we start. In other words, even though we had the dhyana slokas, Lalita Sahasranam itself has the dhyana sloka initially that will help us form and picture about her form, and then we proceed on to describe her tattvas. So we start with the gross body, then we go into the internal, the subtle body, and then and then go into philosophy of Sri Vidya. That's a whole kind of one capsule of Lalita Sahasranam. That's why it's considered very potent in achieving the fruits that we all desire. And Shuddha Vidyanku Rakara Dvijapankti Dvayojjvala. Her teeth is shining so pure white that it reminds about that pure knowledge. Like whenever you see that kind of a shining, pure white shining color, that means it's kind of dispels darkness or the ignorance. That which dispels the ignorance is always knowledge. That's why the best boon that one can ask is a knowledge. Moment you have a knowledge, you have everything. You have, the main thing is get discretion. Even if you seek devotion, you need to have that proper discretion in order to focus that devotion in the right way. This passion is good towards the sadhana, but you have to also have dispassion so that you can judge what is right and what is wrong. Otherwise you fall into again the whole pitfall of Maya. That knowledge is very important. That's what right now we're doing. We're doing churning the knowledge. So we all try to understand what it is and try to implement in our life. So the teeth is shining. That reminds about that pure knowledge that dispels all our darkness. And Karpura Viti Kamoda Samakarshi Digantara. The betel leaf she's chewing contains spices, emanating perfumes in all directions. So she's chewing a betel leaf, which also have a little bit edible camphor, karpura, and that emanates some very attractive flavor around her. And I think we will call it here good. And this should be the end of first 10 slokas. And then later on we'll continue from next week onwards. We'll continue. Please note that's very important that we have to contemplate on the form of the god and goddesses and with a pure mind, and you will be able to achieve that kind of a oneness with that divine energy, the subtle form. then that will take us beyond sooner. Sri Matre Namaha, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.